all know, my name is Professor Encyclopedia. Welcome to this week's TV Library. Today we are going to be talking about the Electrophorus and the inventors behind it. For those of you that do not know, an Electrophorus is an electrostatic generator based on induction. To put it even more simply, it's a generator for electrical sparks. But before we get into the ins and outs of how this device works, let's put it into its historical context by learning about the great inventors who created it. In 1761, the Swedish researcher Wilkie was the first to describe a resin cake that can be used for producing electrical charges, leading to the Electrophorus, the invention that we speak of. That we can see in this image. However, Wilkie is not very well known for the research he did, and it was not until the Italian inventor Alessandro Volta came along that this design became well known. By the way, it is not clear whether Volta was familiar with Wilkie's work before, so we really cannot say. But anyway, let's begin by learning a little bit more about Wilkie. Wilkie's father, Samuel Wilkie, was a clerical man. He educated the children of F.A. Aepinus, a professor of theology at the University of Rostock. Wilkie was educated at the German school of his father's church. In 1750, he entered the University of Uppsala to prepare for the ministry, but not to study theology, but rather mathematics and physics. And 20 years later, in 1770, Wilkie began a professorship in experimental physics at the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences. He paid particular attention to the contrary electricity with his friend Franz Aepinus. He described the exact ingredients of what makes up the Electrophorus. The instrument consists of a resin cake which is then placed inside a ball that has a metallic bottom. At the beginning of the experiment, the Electrophorus is rubbed and charges are separated. A metallic plate, which is suspended from insulating fibers, is placed on the resin cake and it is grounded. When the grounding is removed, the metal plate is lifted and the experimenter can draw a spark from it. Let's look at the second inventor who became well known for this device. His name, as we've already mentioned, was Alessandro Volta. Volta was passionate about electricity. At the early age of 18, young Volta launched himself into a scientific career by writing to the leading scientists of the day about his ideas. And what was surprising was that they replied. I am only 24 and I have already written my first book. A book about the theory of electricity. Now I shall invent a way of creating an endless supply of electricity. One that is portable too. He said proudly. Well, no one has ever done that before. We have large electrical machines. They work by one insulating material rubbing over the other insulating material, which creates sparks. How can this be improved? Questioned the other scientists. This can push charge into a conductor instead of having it rub off. So this became his obsession, to create the ultimate charge-producing material. He asked his assistant Polonio to heat a mixture of turpentine, resin and wax. Then pour it into a metal shallow pan to cool. We shall call it the cake. We then rub this cake with an insulating material. Something like fur of fox or fur of tiger, some sort of fur. After that, we put on a cover made of wood with rounded edges, with tin foil on the top. Then on the wooden cover, we attach a glass insulated handle. Oh, wow, that's amazing! What shall we call it? His assistant said. We shall name the new device the Perpetual Electrophorus. Wow! Now what? His assistant asked. Now, for the moment we have been waiting for. He slowly lifted the cover with its glass insulated handle, and a big explosion happened. Sparks hit his hands as he got electrocuted. Whoa! Then he bravely got back up and tried it again. And he got electrocuted again. His face was black and his hair stood on end like this. It's and he fainted from the shock. Well, we don't know that he actually got electrocuted, but we can imagine it all the same. Now I should be able to produce any amount of charge. When he finally came back around, his assistant said, How did you do it? Well, just like my father said, I am a rare jewel. News spread about Volta's invention fast, and it was not long before he became famous throughout Europe. He wrote letters describing the device to other important scientists, and even sent models of it as gifts to the very important people. Despite this fame, the device was not without controversy and mystery, and many scientists from Italy and Germany questioned it. However, it did not serve as the endless source of electricity that he had visualized. It was not until later in his life that he created the miraculous construction of the electrical battery. Out of all of his inventions, this was by far the greatest. Anyway, I digress. The point is, he was very proud of his inventions, and rightly so. The end.